Hello, welcome to Sewing Tarot. Today I wanted to talk about my interpretations on a few cards that I worked with in the past week through daily draws. I mainly worked with the Ritual Tarot and Tarot Vampires, and there's a few cards that made me think and stick out to me that I wanted to kind of just talk through my thought process with you guys. So the first one I want to start with is the full card from Ritual Tarot. And this card really reminds me, if I have to give it an oracle title, it will be the initial Big Bang. So who is the fool in this actual photo? Collage or artwork. It could be each and any one of them. And it probably is all of them. So in my mind, this is right after the Big Bang, out of the nothingness, when everything is just first born, and every creature is kind of like non-adapted, weird, and in their own ways. So they are all the ancestors of the following evolution. So they are all the first version of weird creatures that came out from the Big Bang. And for each and every one of them, they are the fool, and the rest are the strange world that they are entering. So we can put our shoes in probably everybody, like this weird flower human, this maybe a bug human person, I don't know, and these statues with one horns, and this person with a little dog, and these weird butterflies. Maybe the butterfly is part of this statue human. Like everything is weird and everything is full of potentiality, and potentiality is a word I really like to use with my Fool card, because I feel like that's one of the core qualities of the Fool, is that they are all the endings before them and all the beginnings after them. So for these creatures, they are our not our, but they are the ancestors of every other creatures after them. So they are the seed for the following civilizations, for the following storylines. They already have that potentiality of those storylines and civilizations within themselves. They are the beginning and the ending. They just innocent. They don't know that. They don't consciously understand or understand the world, but they already have the knowing and the power that is seated within them through the Big Bang. And now they are ready to venture into the world to manifest that. So I just find that very, very interesting in this full card. Okay, the next card I want to talk about is this Five of Swords in Ritual Tarot. So because it's a very pippish card, and I usually don't work with pip cards, so I spend a little more time trying to understand how to tie this, my understanding of, or traditional understanding of Five of Swords, the sense of defeat and conflict, with this card. Of course, I can see there's a tear coming out of this mask. But one of the things I learned from this card, if I can summarize it as a oracle message, is that I feel like this card speaks to me, in my personal experience, very strong sense of self-victimizing. So that's how I feel about this card. And let me explain. So first thing first, I wonder, okay, we are probably positioning ourselves in this central figure, in this central knife, right? And why are we thinking that we are being defeated in this situation? We are the victims in this situation. Other people have an advantage over us, because we are the knife that does not have a handle, and the rest of the knives all have a handle. So that's where the first thing I noticed. So maybe that is where we thought, okay, we are being defeated, we're being disadvantaged, and that's why us as the mask is having the tears in the eyes. But I also think that the mask labels this sword or knife, probably sword, as sentient. So only the mask gives consciousness to this knife, because the mask has expression of emotions in it. So maybe this is just complete my interpretation in this card, that maybe only me, only us in the situation is even aware of the situation. The rest is irrelevant. The rest of the swords are not even sentient. They are not bothered. They are not trying to compete with us. They're not trying to sabotage us. They're not even recognizing their advantage, because they're not relevant. They are not sentient. They do not hold consciousness the way we do. So this is what I feel when I had a moment with this card. In a lot of life's challenges, sometimes when I get into this hole of, oh, everything is bad, and other people, other situations, other events is going to happen this and that other way, where I feel like, oh, they had more advantage. They're probably not even thinking about it. And they're not on the same, we don't have the same goal or same view of anything. In that situation, they are just like the swords that's next to us. They're irrelevant. They're not conscious enough to be our enemies or friends. They're just there, and they exist and grow on their own path, and we do as well. So yeah, so I find it a rather powerful kind of like realization that, oh yeah, I got into this victimizing mode, self-victimizing myself, thinking that I am disadvantaged, when the rest of the things and the people around me are actually not aware, and they are not sentient in the same way that I am for this situation. Just like the Four Swords. They don't have a mask attached to them. They do not have feelings. They're not smiling. They are also not crying. They're irrelevant. So yeah, that's my feelings for this card, my experience with it, and I would like to share that one. The next one I wanted to share is the Two of Swords from Ritual Tarot as well. This one, my understanding is that this figure kind of is trapped in this world of decision making, that they are trying to make a decision to be able to pick from one of the knives to free themselves from this chain. As you can see, they're chained here. And they actually do have the resolutions or the solutions, the resources to free themselves. But right now, they are trying to make the decision on which knife to pick. And from picking that knife, they will be able to break their chain and ascend from this, I don't know what this is, but it looks pretty dark and creepy place. So they are going to be ascending from this dark place towards, I believe these are the rings of butterflies, towards this transition, towards this metamorphosis. And then another thing I noticed from this card is she's blindfolded, but this blindfold has an eye on it. So it's really about tapping into the inner wisdom, the higher self-wisdom, the intuition, the eye that is open when all the other eyes are closed. And that's why it's a card about withdrawal in my mind, to slow down, to listen to the inner voice and make a decision that is guided by that inner voice. Okay, and the next one I want to talk about is the Star card, also from Ritual Tarot. I'll talk through the Ritual Tarot first, and I only have probably 2 cards on Tarot Vampires. Okay, so the Star card, I want to talk about the Star card, and I also wanted to tie it back into the Arablés Star card, or many other versions of the Star card when they had the 2 streams of water going into 2 different directions. So for this Star card, the most sensual and strong feeling is healing. It's the sense of we're just in this cocoon now, and we're trying to heal, and we're being pampered and comforted in this darkness of the night, and we're trying to just rest and relax into that like almost mother's womb space in this cocoon. And eventually to get us ready to reborn from that and to become reborn as this moth that's gonna be able to fly away, flap our wings again. So there is a strong sense of healing I get from the card, and another strong sense of hope. And the hope from the star, I was thinking, this is also just my interpretation, but you guys can see she's holding something here. So she's holding something in her hand, crunched in this position. Then that got me thinking about, when we write down our wishes on a little piece of paper, or when we're trying to do a spell, we write down an intention paper, a sigil, or something that has our wishes and intentions in it, and we try to transform that. And that is, I feel, what's happening in this star card here, that she's holding on to this wish that's gonna be dissolved and absorbed by the cosmic womb, by the cocoon that she's in, and she's protected and safe, and those things are getting fermented, and then they will be eventually manifested and wish fulfilled. So that's the hope and wish part of the star that I sense from this card. Another part I really want to talk about is, I was wondering, like, okay, what is this background about? Because this is a star card, it has a moon and has a dark night. You really can't see much anything into it except the mountains, maybe a shade of the mountains. And then the other side, there's like a foggy forest, but when you go through it, the sky is open, and there is like a little castle or something on the other side. So that got me thinking, maybe for me, it could be that a choice, or the opportunities and the potentialities that open to us now after a healing moment, after the star moment, after we have transformed ourselves into the moth, the butterfly, we now are facing two directions. We can go deeper into a next level of our inner subconsciousness, go through the dark night of the moon, which is it's this inward journey that we could take on, or we could also take on an outward journey and actually start actively engaging into the world, travel through the midst of the external world, and start making tangible actions in the world. There is no I don't think there's any judgment in both of them, because sometimes we need more inner searching to find our path, or to understand ourselves and our purpose on a deeper level. That's completely legit, justified. But also the traveling outside after our change and after our healing is also like actually making a difference in the practical world, is also a very legitimate and justified and action that we could take. And this just reminds me of the star card when we have two streams in the traditional RWS cards, where the two streams of water, one goes back to the water, which is like the moon, go back to the subconscious, merges back, deeper search on a different level after the healing. And then another stream goes to the land, which is nurturing our external existence, our physical existence. Maybe that's a better word. This to me symbolizes the physical experience, the practical experience, the external experience that we could have if we go on the land, following the stream of star and go onto the land. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. I just thought the two directions are very interesting in the star card. And then the last card I want to talk about in Ritual Tarot from my last week of experience is the Three of Pentacles. So this Three of Pentacles, kind of like Three of Cups, always troubles me in the past, because I feel like there is a forced cooperation in that. I am kind of like a hermit. I don't really enjoy working with others. Especially, I feel like most of the time for myself, the timing is not right. I'm not at a good space to work with others, whether it's a work project, a personal project, or building communities. I enjoy communities, but I feel like sometimes I get contracted and very self-conscious about my own ability when I'm asked to cooperate with others. And I feel like Three of Pentacles always is like a slap on my face, like, hey, get out of your house and go work with someone else. I don't really enjoy that. However, this time around, when the Three of Pentacles came around, it is about when I was trying to solve a internal issue, a thought problem, I like to call them. But when I was trying to solve a thought problem, the Three of Pentacles came up. And that made me wonder, how is that related? Because I know in that situation, I absolutely cannot ask for external help. That's just not an option for me at that moment in life. And then it got me thinking, the Three of Pentacles, I was meditating on this card, and it really clicked at a moment where it actually, at that situation, and right now I'm looking at this card, is talking about this inner sanctuary that I built, this inner temple that I have built through all my past hard work. Because of the art, like the arch of the building, we can see the structure. This is really like a sanctuary. And these three figures in the past, when I always see them as external people that I had to work with, now comes back to me as all the past versions of myself. So every time when I'm learning from the past, I'm building this temple up. I'm building it better, and I'm building it more safe and stronger. And each one of them is the past version of myself, the past builder that has added to this temple, added to this structure, this inner sanctuary. So this then, in that sense, it completely changed the meanings for me. The Three Pentacles are also my past experiences, the things I've built, the coping mechanisms I had, the lessons I have learned, and they, my past versions of myself, have built them all up and put that knowledge into this inner temple. And this temple is going to help me to come back to it whenever I need it again, whenever I needed a place for comfort, for safety, and to ground myself. And I can go back to this inner temple that has been built by the hard work that I've done and all the past versions of me that I have been doing. So yeah, I think that's a very powerful realization for me at that moment, because then I can visit even just journaling path, working with this card, and I'm kind of talking, it could even be like ancestors in that sense, like past people who have built the knowledge and wealth for us, past me who have built the knowledge and wealth for current me. All of that is kind of combined in this card. The hard work I've put into in the past is now being manifested as this inner sanctuary, as this inner temple to offer me comfort and safety and grounding and guidance sometimes, if I spend time listening to it, staying in this space. So yeah, that's a very different view of Three of Pentacles for me now. Okay, and I want to talk two more about from Tarot Vampires. The first one I want to talk about is the Hierophant. I feel like everybody has a complicated relationship with Hierophant. Of course, including me. I don't like Hierophant card. Never liked it. Every time it comes up, it irritates me a little bit. So Ian Daniels' book is amazing for Tarot Vampires. And I was reading about the Hierophant and learned a lot about the symbolisms in the Hierophant from him. One of the most important one or interesting symbolism I got from him is this 5-point stars and then 6-point stars, where the 6-point stars here represents the initial spirit, the source, the everlasting, as Ian Daniels call it. And the 5-point star represents our physical manifestation. So he's talking about how in the Hierophant, whenever we are being, manifested as humans in the world, our physical being is actually suspended from the source. So we always have a longing, a yearning to go back, because we're being suspended here, hanged here, and kind of unsure about what our source is, what is the foundation, what is going on. And that's why, the lady came to the Hierophant and trying to gain that secret knowledge, the inner knowledge, all of that good stuff. But I do, of course, many people have talked about it. Hierophant is not just about an external mentor or an external structure or dogma. Sometimes it's about our inner wisdom. And this card really got me thinking, because this figure is the Hierophant. But if we really look, so first he's ancient, and that's intentional. He's covered in this spider web, almost spider web type of thing. But spider web, though, does not just mean you're ancient and have this ancient wisdom or ancestral wisdom. It also means you really have never moved, isn't it? If you never move, that's the only reason you could have spider webs all around you. So there's a stagnation within this Hierophant, and there probably is a limitation on how far or how he can move and express himself. And I feel like that's the core difference between the woman and the Hierophant. She, however, even though she's kneeling before him, she's not in a devotional, she is kind of in a devotional position, but not a fully devotional position. She has one leg slightly up, right? It's that, and she has her spine completely straight. So she's not really belittling herself and surrendering to the Hierophant. She still kept her spine straight, and she, in this position, there's a lot of actions and movement you can see in her kneeling position. She can stand up anytime that she wants. And that's the difference between her and the Hierophant. The Hierophant can't, because he's not moving. He's been there for centuries, forever, since the beginning of time. And she is the only person who can actually take the wisdom and make a difference in the world. Also, she's the only person who can say, no, I disagree with whatever you have to say to me, and walk away from this situation. So she's the person who holds the key in reality, not the Hierophant. And that's how I see this card from my experience with her in the last week. Okay, now we're to the last card. It took longer than I thought. The last card is Three of Knives from Tarot Vampires. I really enjoyed this Three of Knives. I think it adds a different layer to it, and I wanted to explain that. Three of Knives, it's about heartbreak, sorrow, the expansion, the sorrow that comes from expansion of knowledge, because the sword is the thinking mind, in my opinion. So there is an expansion that comes from this pain and sorrow as well. But this way, when I'm really looking at this vampire lady, she cut the rose open. So she's like, it's like exposing the hard truth, the painful truth. She cut it open, she stabbed that rose, the rose bleeding everywhere. And she's like, hey, come look at that. This rose is dead all along. It's never beautiful, it's an illusion. I expose this to you, and this is the pain we have to deal with now. So there is a determination and this, I don't know, like conclusion that comes from her action of stabbing the rose. It could expose the blood here on the white, It's so beautiful, this snowy land. And she was just saying, hey, I have to do this. It's hard, but I cut it open and it's bleeding. And it was never a good heart, a good rose to begin with. We have to feel the pain, endure the pain, go through the pain, mourn the losses, and sit at this this three of knives is never really pushing you towards something like, oh, get it over with. In my opinion, it is about staying with the pain, taste it, savor it, understand it, stay as long as we need, mourn it. And she exposed that. That I like. And I also like, of course you can see she's crying. There's tears from her eyes, but it feels like the corner of her mouth is kind of smiling. It's like a relief almost. And that is very special that I see in this three of knives, is this relief. It's like whatever that was toxic from the past, we have cleaned it up now. We have cut it open to face it, and now we're free from it. Even if we're in pain, we're still free from it. This really reminds me of like if we have a splinter in our feet and every step hurts, it hurts a little bit, it hurts more and more, it could get infected. And if we pull it out, it's gonna be, maybe splinter doesn't cause that much pain, but it's whatever it is, if maybe it's a larger object, a nail, anything, if we pull it out, there's gonna be so much pain in that process. And we have to stay with that process. But then eventually that object, that toxic object within us is gone and we can start healing. So that is how I feel from this three of knives, is that detox into the pain that comes with that detox, the pain and sorrow that we have to stay with, but the relief also that comes with that detox. So yeah, that is my adventures and experiences and interpretations with the cards. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm just mumbling mainly to myself, and I will see you next time. Bye.